You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Mission Log Prodigy, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. Supplemental. The Hageman brothers return.
Welcome into another episode of Mission Log Prodigy, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. I'm Norman Lau.
And I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson. Just like our flagship Mission Log show, each week here on Mission Log Prodigy, we discuss every episode of this animated series, discover what makes each of them special, and see if there are any morals, meanings, or messages that we have learned. However, as we are now wrapped up on episode 1 through 10, instead of our usual review show, this week we have a very special episode for all our Star Trek Prodigy fans. We're so excited to have Dan and Kevin Hageman back on the podcast to discuss Star Trek Prodigy episode 6 through 10 and what we can expect for the next 10 episodes later this year. What's on the horizon for Prodigy in the future? Hopefully merch and especially toys like we scream about every episode, because I think that we all want a stuffed Murph as in yesterday.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of stuff immersed by very creative people on social media. And this show is produced for both YouTube and regular podcasts. So please be sure to engage the like button and the subscribe button to share a Mission Log Prodigy on the YouTube channel, on the Roddenberry Entertainment channel. And make sure to listen on podcasts.roddenberry.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the podcasts. You know where to go. You know what to listen to. You know what to subscribe to. You can also follow Mission Log Prodigy on Twitter at ML_Prodigy to keep up with all the latest news and updates, kind of like what we're trying to get out of the Hageman brothers here. And without further ado, welcome back, Dan and Kevin, to the show. How are you both doing?
I'm just amazed by that preamble, guys. That is a lot you just packed in there, and so expertly.
We've learned how to be economical in 22 minutes, thanks to you.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the podcast where you have to comb your hair just to make sure, because you're on YouTube too.
Right, I know, right? This is what all the extra shadowing is for. Not foreshadowing, but just regular shadowing. So
you can tell which is your good side and which is your bad side.
It's definitely the lit side, not the unlit side, right? So I'm going to jump right into it because we have you for a limited amount of time, but we have some big questions that we want to get into you. And the first is, it's been 10 episodes. It's been roughly around 220 minutes for everyone who's keeping score, or about a little over 3.5 hours worth of content. Mm-hmm. So both of you are on social media. You're very active in the Prodigy Twitter feeds. You know, we see you respond to the community, which is great. You're active. You're in contact with as many as you can be. We've gotten some great feedback from the community so far. So how do you both feel about where we are with the series at this point?
Amazing. I feel like, you work so hard and you work in a bubble, and then to see people embrace the show and knowing like there's a big segment of some cantankerous Star Trek fans, we were worried. And especially like after the
it's first scary. Episode, yeah.
Because everyone kind of goes through the same path of like, oh, it looks like Star Wars. All right, like, hold on, just wait.
Just wait.
And then they start, and then they catch on, and then they, oh, I hate Dal. And then it's okay, just keep it good, keep going. And then they're like, I love Dal. And we're overjoyed that they've come to this plateau.
Oh, honestly, we're overwhelmed with the positive response. We weren't expecting that. And I think it's such a relief for Dan and I, and for Ben, and for a lot of the leaders of our show, like, just because you're so nervous. You've been spending 2.5, 3 years on this thing, and it's finally, your baby is out. What do you think, my baby? And also our crew,
Kevin,
is
our baby.
And then, but to see our crew is so fired up when they see fans are loving it. It just, we're all working tirelessly to make these episodes as best we can with every last waking minute. And so when we see you guys reacting so well, we're like, yes, like everyone's getting jazzed.
I remember you saying in our first interview together that some of the things that were upsetting to you, or maybe you were taking a little personally because you wanted the audience to wait for it, quote unquote, wait for it. And that's Dal especially, and how to transition out of that Star Wars mentality from the audience to finally what we've seen in these first 10 episodes. with every single episode that has come out and the responses that you've seen online, is that something that's going through your heads every single time you see a victory from the people that say, oh, it's not like Star Wars, or Dal actually isn't, this the teenage boy that you kind of want to slap sense into? Is that something that you're like, yep, the plan is working? Is that how you feel?
Yeah, we knew we had to be patient because, again, like the pilot has to work for someone who doesn't know Star Trek. And if you throw them on a ship or you throw them too quickly into Star Trek, they're going to have a lot of questions. So we knew just to make a 1-hour pilot to really get you to Janeway, we feel like that's when the show really kind of takes off. So to see these people like literally say, I was wrong about the show, I dig it. It's that those are the best. Those are like, we totally won you over, and we're super excited about that.
I also think presenting a young man who needs to be slapped and winds up being a hero is in the proud Star Trek tradition, going all the way back to James T. Kirk. So exactly. I think you really nailed it with that.
Good. I'm so glad people see that, because we really as from day one, we wanted Dal to embody the kind of the spirit of Kirk.
So a moral star, if we look at it as one episode or maybe a movie, features your entire writing team and Ben Hibbin returning as a director for both parts of the episode. So how do you manage the expectations for all of that talent into 22-minute episodes in a way that everyone feels like their contributions are fairly represented? And is there a specific reason to bring in all the writers, yourselves included, to write these 2 episodes?
Yeah, I mean, credits and animation are not really protected by the guild so much, or it's a little iffy. So really, like, the whole writer's room has massive contributions on every episode. Mm-hmm. And the way we like to run our room is we give every single person in the room their own episode. But then oftentimes for finales, we're like, we're all working on it. And so we'll put all our names on the last ones. And then also in the writing process, even when someone's writing their own script, they'll do a pass of the script. Kevin and I will do a pass of the script. Walkie will do a pass of the script. And then when we're all have done a pass on the script, the last effort is every Friday before we turn it in, we do a room read, and we have the computer up. And anytime anyone has something to add or something to make funnier or something that they feel like is concerning, it's a democracy. It's like we all decide what's going to be on that page. And that way everyone feels like they have ownership of the final product.
Nice. Very, very, very Starfleet in that way, I think.
Thank you.
And at first, Prodigy felt like it had some very specific Voyager ties in. Obviously, hologram Janeway, pieces of Chakotay, mentions of the Kazon and the Hirogen. I love the Hirogen. The design of the Protostar is also very reminiscent of the Prometheus and the football-shaped ships that I always think of in Voyager. Now that we're 10 episodes deep, there's a stinger at the end of A Moral Star Part 2 where we've very clearly seen, I guess skip forward if you haven't seen it, Vice Admiral Janeway aboard the Dauntless, and who is specifically looking for Chakotay now. So now that we're firmly in the Voyager universe, and if you want to cut that deeper inside the appropriate timeline, is Prodigy a soft continuation of the post-Endgame story, or is it more forging its unique story moving forward?
It's definitely there's just no way. First of all, knowing that we were going to have Admiral Janeway in there, and we love this idea of the back 10, that she's the sort of antagonist. She's going to be hunting them down. She has no idea who they are, but she's trying to find this ship. She's trying to find Chakotay. So suddenly that just naturally lended to Chakotay and what's going on with them and what's the next chapter in their story. So I think definitely, Voyager, I think, and again, where my head is at is 40 episodes down. We're writing the finale right now of 40 episodes. And so a lot happens in the 10 episodes you guys have seen. We really make the story move. I'm really excited I think fans of Voyager are going to be really excited with what's coming down the line. And so, but for us, it's always to find a balance. You don't want a whole bunch of just adult scenes, or Admiral Janeway scenes, and it starts to become the Admiral Janeway show. It's not that. It's about our Prodigy crew. But they play some major roles in this series.
Interesting.
Was that a beard that you were? Was that what?
Yes, this
That
is
was
my
universal.
This is my Gandalf. Like, yeah.
That's a really long beard that you're.
Well, I'm one of the Astari. I was born old, and I will die old.
Yeah.
So.
It reminded me like Ming the Merciless beard or something.
Ooh, lovely.
Yeah.
Nice reference.
Yeah.
So since this is on YouTube and we saw on Dan's mug, we saw Janeway, and we see in Kevin's background, we see another Janeway. I mean, you're obviously fans of Janeway.
I got
Was-
mine.
Dueling Janeways.
That was Kevin and that was our gifts to each other, was
Yeah.
a Janeway.
The XO. Yeah. Anyway.
I'm not sure if I asked you this in the previous interview, but I know that the fans obviously loved seeing Vice Admiral Janeway, the stinger of Immortal Star Part 2. Is that always, or has she always kind of been that important of a focal point of putting into the series? And was she chosen because a lot of the fans, or maybe a lot of the fans' parents, are in that now Voyager, post-Voyager space? I'm just kind of like wondering why her instead of somebody else, like say a Picard or a Cisco, for example.
It just kind of feels like a good fit where you're like, you've got these truant kids, searching the galaxy. It's like, who do you want whipping them into shape? And it's like, our bet was Janeway. Like Picard, you saw how Picard treated Wesley. Like, I feel like,
Yeah. Is he really going to be that great?
Shut up, Del.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Belvedere. Yeah.
That would be like a sitcom. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, that's who we chose. I mean, I guess you could look at Kirk, you could look at Spock, but to us, we just felt that matron, the tough matron character was just such a wonderful guru to teach these kids and raise them. Because I guess to us, I always feel like the mother figure, even though I love father figures, mother figures to me are the place teaching the kids to grow.
Mm-hmm. And for us, like when we placed her in this show, we just knew we didn't want our show to be some little kids B-rated version of Star Trek. Like, no, we want this show to be up there with all the great shows of Star Trek. We want to exist alongside them. And so we're like, let's be in the canon. Let's be with the characters in this timeline. Let's be there in right smack dab in that universe.
I think we said this at one time in some publication, but we always talked about, we know we're going to be looked down upon at first as like the little brother, little sister. And we want to be the little brother or little sister who comes up and punches their big brother or big sister and says, I matter. I'm a little kid, but I got a lot of spunk.
Yeah.
So the second break, I don't know how to put this as delicately as I can, but the second break is really long. And
you control the entire slate of how everything is laid out, right? Why it's so long.
Right. So, but the thing is, when people have seen that online, they see like what's coming up. They see Discovery, and they see Discovery overlapping with Picard, and they see Picard maybe overlapping with Strange New Worlds. Is there anything that you can tell us about? What I'm saying is, there's not Prodigy specifically on that calendar, as opposed to those 3 shows that were actually put on the calendar. So is there anything that you can say legally or about when honestly, Prodigy is coming back?
Yeah, I can speak legally. It's just, when you look at our show, it's a primo show, right? Like, and we are not some massive $100 million animation studio who outputs these things, right?
Kevin, Nickelodeon's fantastic.
No, I'm saying a production.
For a single show.
Comparing us to a $100 million animated feature, right? We don't have that type of budget. We are a ragtag team who loves Star Trek, and we're trying to make the greatest looking kids TV show ever, right? And so I think of it as it's like a gourmet hamburger, right? It takes a while to make each episode, right? It's not easy to, we could make them faster and we keep sending them out, but they're just not going to look as good. And so I think it's just a quality to keep that quality up. It just takes, it's hard work.
And sometimes
the hamburger is a good metaphor, though, because that is a humble meal that people think they understand the expectation of, that is being elevated in the current sphere right now. And you're doing the very same thing with what new Star Trek is.
Thank you.
So let's roll that hamburger analogy a little bit longer, because We all love lunch. So hamburgers can come out and they can come out stock. But then, and stock is good. Like a stock In-N-Out burger, amazing. But sometimes you want a little bit of extra something, like extra animal sauce or extra cheese or a double or you know. So in this time, do you actually have the opportunity or the budget or the leverage or all of the above to go and rework anything in these 10 that you want to or want to?
You mean from based off of what fans are reacting to?
Or just from your own personal quality standards, or both?
I mean, we're always watching and going, you know, like even in A Moral Star Part 2, I think there's a line that was in the screener that we ended up taking out for the actual airing. And it's a moment when Gwen in the final, Kate Mulgrew's final speech at the end, in the screener, I think it says Gwen makes a full recovery. And we took that out because we felt like it felt too easy. Like we felt like after seeing what happened to her, you don't want to say,
don't worry, kids, she'll be all right. I'm like, don't tell me that right after experiencing that. Like we need to wonder. We need to worry.
So that just shows you like we're making little tiny tweaks within the week before it airs sometimes of like, let's take that line out or let's, you know, put a line in or let's change a sound effect.
Yeah. So when you ask, like, that's the whole process is constantly looking at every stage and every movement or every hug, you know, between two characters. And is that hug right? Or we can, you know, you always have the power to move, to put their faces closer, to pull them further apart, to have their eyes meet, to not have their eyes meet, you know? So we're constantly, you know, course correcting and, you know, but I think every step of the way, we've just got such an amazing team from a writer's room. I think our scripts are really strong. So you start off on a really strong foot and people are really inspired and we have amazing artists. Like if you guys saw, like, I can't wait for like the art of Prodigy to come out. Like you've probably seen some stuff coming out online by some of the artists who are sharing, like, here's a concept board I did for this one episode. It is gorgeous, the stuff that's coming across our desk every day. I can't wait.
And it's great. We have like Benny Bond, like these people care. These people care so much about what they're putting out there, which it's nice. It's nice that we're all working on a gourmet hamburger together and we're all like, we have like the little tweezers and we're putting the micro greens on it and things like that, you know.
Too many pickles. Take off one, just the right pickles.
Too sour.
And then Admiral Janeway's that piece of gold foil that they put on top at Vegas so they can charge you $1,000 for the entire burger.
Yes.
That we'll all have at STLV together someday.
Now you must pay Paramount Plus. Here you go.
Yeah,
that's the plus on top of it.
That's the gold foil.
Is it particularly strange to like be working on producing and like prepping everything for episode 40, but still be dipping your toes back and perfecting like episode 9 and 10 and I'm sure 11 right around the corner?
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's the hardest part. It's just like a whirlwind. You know, literally like today, like I'll have these meetings like, okay, like today, episode 209, rough pitch, 118, you know, like it's all across the board. And so a lot of times I come into these meetings, I'm like, okay, here we are. 209. What's 209? Where am I in this?
I think we talked about this before, actually, that like I am the worst with titles and I can't remember any titles for the life of me. I just go, oh, that's the Klingon one or the Ferengi one. That's the, you know, they're just one word answers.
So you are all big fans of toys, right? This is something that Ashley asked in the preamble. And I asked this before, and this was, I don't know, let's see, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 weeks ago when we did our first interview, like early in January, or actually late in December. That was aired in January. So has there been any talks with anyone?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I think we can definitely say it's already been announced. Over a year ago, we were working with Playmates is coming out with amazing looking toys. We just saw,
I think probably the best stuff they've ever come out with. I feel like it's
I agree. I think it's probably the best stuff I've seen them generate, and they love the show. They love the show. They love the characters. They love the toy potential or how toyetic it is. And honestly,
that was the word you used last time. Toyetic. That was the big word.
We've done a lot of years at Lego, so we
yeah, and they've really embraced, like, what we do for our show, like, and what we learned from Lego, only the best is good enough, and so like we just saw pictures of some of the action figures, and I'm like, it's Gwen. and it's Dal and Zero and Raw. I mean, it's totally them. I love it. It doesn't look like weird fabricated versions of them. It's like, no,
Look like
these are the characters from the show and I get to play with. So yeah, I love that.
Kevin, further to just merch in general, that sweet, what I'm assuming is a crew gift that you're wearing. Are we going to see sweaters with that kind of iconography and tees coming?
Dan, where's your crew gift?
I don't know, but I will tell you, it was my idea for the zipper. It was my idea for the zipper.
That's so cool.
I go, is this possible? And and Tanya was like, let me look into it. And then she came back and she's like, it's possible. We're like, oh,
yes.
It's a proto zipper.
Yeah. You know, so with toys, like there's a lot already, you know, in the works. And I think there's also the waiting game where the show needs to come out.
Mm-hmm.
I think the studio and the networks need to be comforted going, okay, people like it. People are coming. All right.
How many should we order for the swords? Yeah, it's like, I think the same thing with Troll Hunters. I mean, you don't want to launch a toy right when the show comes out because you're getting like your ardent fans, but that's a smaller number. You want to wait probably till like a bigger crowd from Nickelodeon or whatever it is are coming to the toy aisle. So,
yeah. I mean,
I'm actually
kind of like, I'm sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
Say it right now in the background. I'm emailing Nickelodeon and confirming, will there be plushies?
Yes.
Murph plushies would kill. They would straight up kill right now.
Oh, I know.
Have you seen all like the young fans with their own Murph plushies? And then even Rock made her own Murph plushie in Time of Mock.
It was canonized.
Right? That was a real thing.
I've seen Murph soaps out there. Like the marketing possibilities are truly endless.
Yeah, and there's gonna be video games too. Video games coming out. So there's some great stuff. I mean,
you heard it here, folks.
I think, is that okay? We can say that, Dan? I have no idea. We'll see.
Let us know.
I don't know.
Tell her.
I don't know. Has that been announced? There's a video game coming out later this year.
Well, if yes, we're excited.
Well,
if no,
that video game is Grand Theft Auto 6.
Murph City. Right?
Dal is in his full like episode 1. I'm kind of a jerk mode, just driving around San Andreas. Hey, that's the studio where I live.
In the roller. In the roller, right? So, there's a big question, I guess, when it comes to like talking to the networks, getting your numbers, and then being able to use those numbers to work with vendors and licensors and things of that nature. You said before that the feedback isn't as transparent as maybe one would hope, so that you could actually talk to licensors and say, hey, look, these are our numbers. This is what you can set your clock to. This is a budget that you can start investing in molds and dyes and packaging and marketing and all that kind of stuff. So how do you talk? Is it you that's talking to the vendors to put out merchandise, or is it Nickelodeon and Paramount+?
Some of us, we're a part of a lot of those conversations. But yeah, it is a lot of the merchandising departments. You know, whether it's with CBS and Secret Hideout, and as they oversee the Star Trek brand. It's like I remember 2.5 years ago, right, or 3 years ago, when Dan and I just had a verbal pitch. And we presented it, right, to a bunch of the licensees and vendors and stuff, and Eagle Moss, and everyone was there from all the different toy companies. Everyone loved it. You know, everyone was totally jazzed. So I think, as you see almost any toy line, or any brand new IP property, it takes about a year before they start to really come out. So I'm expecting a lot. There better be a lot, probably end of this year, going into next year, hopefully we'll be seeing a lot.
Well, the timing would be good, right? So,
yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, because you're serving such a specific and a new demographic for the Star Trek fandom in a lot of ways, I was wondering if you had more freedom maybe than some of the other shows, for fear of like them, like, is Strange New Worlds going to cross over something Picard is going to do? Is Discovery going to cross over something that Picard is going to do? And I was wondering if, because you're trying to bring more people into the sandbox, if do you guys get away with like murder? Do you get to do whatever you want?
No, I mean, we've always really appreciated how Alex Kurtzman kind of approaches it, where I feel like, I mean, I don't want to throw any shade towards Disney, but I feel like it's a much bigger corporation. And I think there's a lot more rules and restrictions, where Star Trek, Kurtzman's like, you go have fun in your side of the play box. And, and
just tell the other kids, what you're doing, or if there's any, and it's been so friendly. Like everyone is so wonderful.
Yeah, it's like I'm playing with a shovel, and people are like, "Okay, cool, I got the bucket over here." That's
It's not Mike McMahon's like, no, that's my starfish.
Yeah,
it's like, that's my dinosaur.
Yeah, Mike's the snotty kid in the corner with the cold.
Mike is the one who looks cherubic, but will beat you up for your lunch money. It's gonna
be.
Yeah.
Totally.
Everyone's looking around for the paste when Mike is around, right? The paste,
yeah.
Right?
Who took the paste? Yeah.
But I mean, actually, that's a good question, because there's something on our Twitter feed that I posted where we looked at Admiral Janeway's costume, Vice Admiral Janeway. We looked at the Trill officer, who was, I love the spiritual energy that she was, exuding from Dax, from Jadzia Dax, which was
great. She is. Her name is Essentia.
Essentia.
She is about to be everybody's crush, I can tell.
Yeah. Well, Jamil is amazing. So
yes.
She's infectious. She's wonderful. Yeah.
But there's this wonderful trim that's happening on the uniforms and the boots that were very, you don't see it all, but it's very Prodigy. Lower Decks-esque. And I put it out there and people are like, no, it's not. And people are like, can't you see the boots? Obviously it is.
I mean, we took a look at that time period of like all the costumes that are in that time period. So, and oftentimes we leave it up to Ben then to like make the decision, or we'll all kind of look at it and go, this is the way we want to go. We'll listen to arguments. Because I think every show you kind of want to do, I understand the canonical idea of like, well, the uniforms have to look like the uniforms as always, but I feel like every show kind of does their own thing. That's a little bit of a...
Yeah, we don't want to just copy and just do what's already been done.
Right.
It's like time, 20 years has passed since Voyager. So it's like, you want to update some things.
But there's going to be probably, in social media, there's always pushback. You could breathe and there'll be pushback. Like, why did you breathe so heavy? Why didn't you
on
breathe
Twitter?
at all?
Never.
I know, never. Not that I've seen.
Lovely. Never.
Not yet. But the big word that you just dropped there, and something that caused a lot of inspiration or a lot of controversy, depends on how you look at it in social media, is the uniform. The uniforms on the Protostar. How long did those take to go through versions and iterations before everyone was finally like on board, like with the George Lucas, he walks by and stamps like, the storyboard said, that's it. Yeah.
It was a lot.
It goes through a lot of eyes. We talk about it, but I do want to say, like, we just boldly go, like, and we will apologize later or whatever it is. We're not going to try to kowtow to like the fans who are going to hold us hostage on certain things. We're going to do what we think is right for the show, and whatever, hopefully we're more right than we are wrong.
Yeah. So honestly, like when we went through a lot of iterations, like Dan said, we looked at uniforms of the time period, and we wanted to make sure that we were fitting canon as much as we can. But we also felt like we also want to have our own uniform on our own ship, our brand new ship. It's experimental. We can do whatever we want. And also we took in factors also of like toys. I want kids to look at the action figures and make these uniforms not look like, man pajamas, but they look cool. Right. And so, sorry. Well, and I'm really happy with where we landed. I think they do look cool, for an action figure for these kids.
And even live action Star Trek shows, which were airing at the same time and set during the same time period, have had different costumes. Deep Space Nine eventually got their own looks. Voyager got their own looks. So again, just following in the proud tradition of all the Star Trek that's come before.
And they're their own looks, but you can see inspirations and connection points between the different designs. It's definitely, would be weird if we just ignored everything and it was just this gold lame, tube top.
It would be
people would be like, whoa, that's
season 2.
You want to see Janeway in a gold lame tube top, don't you?
Maybe let's make that an action figure variant, very rare, one every 13 boxes.
Evil Janeway,
very exclusive.
Gold tube top.
Oh my God, Mirror Universe Janeway.
Yeah, she's great.
That exploded all over social media. Wow.
I mean, I can't promise anything, but I think it's fair to say, talking to Playmates, they've done like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and different, vast toy lines. And they say like their business plan is you start off dropping, your main core figures, right? But then, as long as the sales are going and stuff, then they start dropping those special ones. Like we would have like an evil hologram Janeway action figure. That would be amazing.
Keep buying them until we get to the evil Janeway, and then
I mean, she seems to be everybody's goth girlfriend on Twitter, so I see it in your future. I definitely do.
Have you been contacted to do any appearances for upcoming conventions?
No.
I remember our very, very first time when we were speaking to a Star Trek audience. This was, like 3 or 4 years ago, and we were kind of pitching what it was. And
was this the licensor one, Dan?
Yeah,
the merchandise?
And literally took 1 foot off a stage, and there a guy. I know that he didn't have a cigar in real life, but in my head,
yeah.
Hey, kid, the conventions, kid.
Yeah. No, he's like, he was in charge of the cruise ships.
Oh, that was it.
And he's like, I got a boat. I got a boat that you boys need to be on. that's like what we're picturing in our heads. But yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, post-COVID.
Yeah. Whoa, yeah.
And it's because we have Star Trek Chicago coming up, and then later on we have Star Trek Las Vegas, and then I'm sure that there are other. So
we've not been contacted about that stuff. So if anyone wants to contact us, contact us.
That's strange. It's a weird time for conventions. Everything's just kind
there's
of up
one
in the
of
air.
those that I don't credit with being the most organized. So you could definitely get a panic email like the week before.
But I mean, you guys would be comfortable, say, showing up like this, like a Zoom call, be able to talk to the fans, because I think that one thing that the Prodigy fans are really clamoring for are say more appearances by you to talk to them, or at least try and make a connection with you both, because there are a wonderful handful of podcasts out there. But I think the one thing that would be really fantastic is to see you address like this entire like audience chamber of fans in holding their Murph plushies, or hopefully we'll see some people in actually cosplay soon with the Protostar uniforms. How would that make you feel, honestly, when you see that for the first time? Is that something that would really emotionally hit you?
It's the best. I mean, it super emotionally hits us. And, and we've been fortunate enough, we would go to Comic-Con almost every year for Ninjago. And you'd start to see that room growing each year. Every new season, the room would get bigger and bigger. And the fans weren't just 6-year-olds, but suddenly they're 20-year-olds, asking for an autograph, or they're dressed up, or like Lego Movie to see people dressed up as Ant-Man and stuff.
Halloween, like a little Jim Lake Jr. coming in, or someone.
Yeah, I love that. It's wow. And I'm super excited about Prodigy, because I know Trek fans love to dress up. So I can't wait. I'm hoping for a lot to
Yeah,
what's the most obscure character that you want to see someone cosplay as? Let's send the call out.
Ooh. Goth Janeway is pretty awesome.
I think Goth Janeway is going to show up a lot in future, but like, does somebody get bonus points if they come out as Dreadnought? Like,
oh my gosh.
That would be crazy.
The cat orphan.
And suddenly, like, Dreadnought unfolds and it's like arachnid form. I'm like, what?
I'd like to see Okona. I mean, I feel like that's coming up. So
that's right. You guys haven't seen Okona yet.
I can see a family.
But here's what's great. I think we could tease though, like, Okana's in our story, but it's the real Okana. It's Okana, and some years have passed. So Okana's a little different than you last saw him. So,
and you got Billy Campbell to come back to do it?
Oh yeah. He's
amazing.
Awesome.
That's the best thing about animation is everyone can still look or sound the same or as different as you want them to.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. Yeah.
It's great. I honestly I know this isn't even asking for much, but I can't wait to see a Gwen. Like, it's for someone to do the makeup and to do the hair, where the head goes into the dreads.
If there's a giant like cardboard rock talk,
it'd be amazing.
You just want to hug them. You'll be like, "You're rock talk."
Some little kid dressed as Murph, like scooting around. Yes.
Yeah. That would be amazing though, seeing an actual like life-size, full-size Rock Talk costume and with a sign on her chest says "free hugs." I would die.
Oh my God.
That'd be amazing.
Right? Handing out little Murph like Murphsicles.
I really can't wait.
Right.
I
know, but right now the parents probably getting mad at you going, "I'm not going to make a giant Rock Talk."
They will.
They will. Someone will.
That's the great thing on social media, though, is hearing from the parents and the kids. Like they're finally starting to be a little bit more vocal and calling into the show and sending in their voicemails. I don't know if you guys know this, but we had a 3-year-old named Dietrich call in, our youngest caller. And his mom sent us an email and thanked us for doing the show, and thanked obviously you two for creating Prodigy. But I've never heard of something where, a 3-year-old is connecting with their parents over Star Trek and actually having these discussions about it. Has anyone contacted you personally, like parents and children, and how they're bonding over Star Trek?
I mean, we're just hearing it from the podcast, and I will say, or on Twitter.
Or Twitter, yeah. But Twitter tends to be more adults, so they'll share like, "I love watching this with my child."
But that, I mean, yes, it's like we wrote it for co-viewing, but then to actually see it working and to see like, it's almost like the Star Trek parent is the one who's most excited about it. They're like, oh my gosh, I got to talk about Star Trek to my greatest, love of my life. Mm-hmm. So it's,
But there's no direct line to kids right now, right? They're not on Twitter as much. So I'm still very, very curious about kids. Like
got to get on the TikTok. Got to start ticking and talking.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Murph would be an absolute TikTok star.
Here's an inside scoop. We had a little cast party and we had different candies for each person. And this is the Rock Talk candy.
Rock candy.
Are those little cinnamon hearts?
No, little rock candies.
No, it's like rock candy, right? Crystalline sugar. Yeah.
That's perfect. What was Murph's candy?
I know. I
jelly beans.
I feel like Prodigy is like Harry Potter. Like I remember, like Harry Potter's got all their candies and their toys and their costumes. I'm like, yes, I really hope that continues on this. I was just talking to Jason Mantzoukas. We were recording. He's the wonderful voice of Jankum Pog, and he was like, because he hasn't done anything yet for the show, but he's excited and loves it. And he's like, we gotta, he has that voice. But he's like, we got to do a stage reading, we got to get everyone at a Comic-Con or at a Trek convention, and to have a big table read and to see like, Jason doing Jankum.
No, we wanted to do a podcast.
Riley is Rock.
Where he just craps all over the show.
Oh, Jankum. Yeah, if Jankum had his own podcast, right?
Pogcast.
It was a Pogcast. Yeah.
I think it would be funny.
And it's Jankum Pog just ripping every episode, going, look at
with their uniforms.
Yeah.
The dum-dums. Yeah.
It'd be funny if you did it live at a convention, but everybody read different parts. Like if Jason was reading like
Murph.
I don't know, Murph, yeah, or Rock, or like that. I just think the gag of that would be very silly.
Like a body switch episode, right?
Just you wait.
See, there's the one thing, folks, out there, if you're listening, there's always trust the Hagemans with these little bitty details. Never, ever, ever overlook them, ever. Right?
Never. No. Yes.
I'm glad you brought up Jankum, because I don't know about you, Ashley, but I think that every single character so far has had a very specific, significant moment, of development on the show. And Jankum's had really good moments, and I'm going to get into Zero in a second, but I'm still waiting for Jankum to have his Gwen understanding the betrayal moment, Dal stepping into leadership moment, Rock Talk understanding she's more than her worth moment. Now, Jankum had that a little bit, switching parts with Rock, in the reactor chamber, but we haven't seen that Jankum moment. Is that something that is?
We have Jankum moments. We have some really special Jankum moments, and I really love, Jason. Jankum's always quipping and it's so wonderful when we're recording a line and he's like, "Oh, this is the more genuine." He's not making fun of anyone. It's a very sentimental, quiet, touching Jankum moment, with another one of the characters. And so there's really some great moments for Jankum. I think as we built season 1 and even with season 2, it's so since Gwen is connected to our villain, of course there's just Gwen is probably served the most, and then Dal, right?
Dal and Gwen are served the most.
Exactly.
Rock and then Zero are served. And then, Jankum, I'm not saying he gets the short stick. He's short, but but I think Jankum and Murph are both much more comedic relief. And so it's I wouldn't say it's hard to find an emotional arc for them, but it's more difficult. It's you got to dig a little deeper.
And the other ones like Zero or Rock, it came so quickly and so easily. and it was so good that you're like, okay, service. And so then, yes, when you do that and you're losing, and we have a few episodes left, so I have to say, like, I don't think we've had, even with the 40 episodes, that, I think we've been able to serve all of the characters in a certain way, but still there's so much left on the table, sure. Especially for Jankama, that I think I would hope for a season 3 and hope for, if that does come around, that'd be one of my first things in the writer's room is like, the characters who we haven't dived deep enough, let's really put them in the spotlight this time.
You have touched on really interesting things with Jankum, though. Like, I like that. I like his fascination with Starfleet, and like he was really on the like, we should let Starfleet handle this. Starfleet knows what they're doing. Let's let them be in charge. Like, when we do get nuggets from him like that, they are like very sincere and very revealing. But episode 41 is going to be his big episode.
I like the sweet and salty combo where like he's super salty, but then you're like deep down he's like probably the sweetest guy. I think he's like he sees himself as the big brother to Rock. I think he's the heart, a little bit of the, the loyalist, the guy who's going to stick up for the team the most compared to everybody else.
And I think, without spoiling anything, you at the end of 10, you get a glimpse of another Tellarite. Mm-hmm. So now we have 2 Tellarites on our show, and there's some interesting.
Oh yes, the finger controversy is huge online. 5 fingers versus 3 fingers. I'm like, guys. I'm sure the Tellarites have so many different variations on Tellar Prime. So
it's the most Tellarite development we've had probably since the original series. So
I still get creeped out by the TOS Tellarites.
Oh, the pig masks?
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Still today.
And also, I was going to say we were casting for Dr. Gnome, Jason Alexander. We're like, if these 2 ever do come, who do we want to be having a Tellarite off?
With Jason Mantzoukas, and we're like, it has to be George Costanza and Jason Alexander. Yeah.
Again, it's all in the details, folks. Just listen to what they had to say right there. Zero had a big moment at the end of Moral Star Part 2. I mean, it was a big, big, big moment. Probably a little bit more extreme, I think, than any other scene that I've seen so far in the show. When you chose that for Zero, what was the reaction in the room? Like, are we pushing Zero too far? Are we pushing the audience too far? Because what happened to the diviner was pretty severe. And I'm wondering if you had a back and forth with your entire team saying, is this too severe for kids?
Yeah, no, there's definitely, and I'm sure it is too severe I see some people going, oh, I'm introducing my 3-year-old to your show. And I'm like, I don't think Prodigy's ready for a 3-year-old. You know what I mean?
For certain scenes, but it's good. But that's why it's good for co-viewing. I mean, it's good to have people there.
But yeah, like we had to try to hit a sweet spot. You can't go so soft that adults aren't going to like it, or too edgy so you lose the kids. So we're doing our best to ride that line. Yeah. And we definitely, that sequence, we knew, what it was? It's like we knew it was going to be intense when we wrote it. And I remember having tears in my eyes when we were writing pages and rewriting that scene. It's so powerful. Mm-hmm. And then
it's the climax of the first episode. So it had to be, yeah. But then to see what, Ben did in the animatics, I can't wait when that's shown, that people can see. It's so powerful. It was even bigger and more than we had imagined on the page. Because you think about like writing, when you're writing it, you're like, Zero's going to reveal themselves and it'll drive the diviner mad. I mean, obviously there's more words than that, but then when you see the actual animation of seeing the life exit the diviner, that's the stuff that like,
wow,
okay, that's really turning the screws. But at the same time, there's no blood. There's no, I mean, it's to us, we always look back at E.T. and go, when you see E.T. lifeless on the table, but E.T. comes back, right? Mm-hmm. And that if E.T. died like that, that'd be terrible. It'd be a tragic movie for us kids. I think having the diviner this is the last we've seen of the diviner, I think that is too dark. But you haven't seen the rest of the story.
Right. And so it's just bookending Zero at the very beginning with the whole chase was Fugitive Zero. Fugitive Zero brings us to the Protostar and the journey, begins. But now you're, encapsulating that story with what Zero may or may not have learned in this moment, and what happened to the diviner, because the diviner right now is in a pretty dark place, and it was just an interesting note to move forward on. But then there was the note of hope with Janeway saying that, this crew has grown so much. I guess, with Zero's moment, we'll see where they grow from there. We're almost coming up on a little bit towards the end of the show here, Ashley. So I'm wondering if there's any last things you would like to ask the brothers here before we go.
I'd just more like to state that Prodigy has taught me that the more amorphous your character is physically, the more powerful you are, because Murph and Zero, particularly over these 10 episodes, have come up as the two most powerful characters. And I thought with the Medusian, we'd probably get there. But every time Murph just goes into the vacuum of space or eats an entire baby star, my breath is continually taken away by how truly awesome Murph is. So thank you for that, for subverting my expectations.
I love hearing that the adults are responding so well to Murph as much as the kids. I wasn't expecting that.
I love him. I want one.
I did. Again, it's like whether it's Murph and going through many different hideous versions of Murph concept designs where it's like, oh my gosh, he's unwatchable.
He was like brown and fleshy like at one point, or like, ugh.
Just farty, burpy creature, and it was just like disgusting, not cute, And we kept like, we needs to be cuter, But and it's just those layers. The designs come in, the voice acting comes in. It's just like we're saying with Zero's big moment. Oh my gosh, when what Ben did, once the diviner gets hit with it and Zero goes away, there's that shot of the diviner just staring up at the sky, just mumbling to himself, and he falls on his knees, and I'm just like, wow, like that's Ben, that's direction. Like, it was so powerful. And then you hear John Noble giving his performance to it. I was just like, it just becomes even more than you ever expect.
Yeah, you want a hateful dad, you call John Noble.
Yeah.
He was super sweet in reality.
Yeah.
That was Alex Kurtzman who suggested John, because we were having a really hard
Fringe,
time.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Fringe.
Yeah, from Fringe. Because we really wanted like a Ricardo Montalban. I mean, Khan is such a huge influence. We want that dripping
passionate
emotion and passion.
Yeah.
And he's like, what about John Noble? We're like, if we can get John Noble, fantastic.
So there are a lot of hints that have been dropped in these last 5 episodes, from Kobayashi, to Moral Star Part 2. And probably the biggest one that it was hinted at 17 years ago from a flashback, and that is the Order. Without being able to say anything, because I want to give you a little bit of time to spoil anything without spoiling anything, what can the audience out there expect when Prodigy returns that they can speculate on for a while? Because they do have a while.
Oh my gosh! Wait, are you saying
the time
specifically with the Order, or
just in general? Like, what can you tell us that?
Well, let's establish what we know. We know the kids, the Protostar, want to head to the Federation.
Or heading to the Federation, yeah.
Right, they want to head to the Federation. We know that Gwen has a secret locked in her mind. That
she's like a Trojan horse.
And what is the secret? That there's something on board that ship, right?
What exactly is this weapon? I believe, have we established that it's
we haven't established it yet.
It's only on the ship. It could either be the ship itself.
That it's on the ship and it will disrupt Starfleet.
It causes Starfleet ships to attack each other.
Yes. Okay. So that's been established. They can't go there. We've established that Chakotay, on the other side, you have Chakotay is
the original captain.
He went through an anomaly and his ship was boarded.
Yep.
We know
by a dreadnought, because there's many dreadnought out there, or possibilities of dreadnought.
You just 3D print them.
Dreadnoughts, yeah.
Right. The Dreadnoughty, that's what we called them on the podcast.
Dreadnoughty,
so,
yeah. And he had to travel back in time to search for the ship.
Right.
So he actually traveled back in time far before the ship ever landed in Tars Lamora.
Waiting for it.
So that's as much as I can give.
He did not come out at the time and place where he was hoping. Right.
Oh, like Spock.
That's new.
Okay.
That's all we can give. I think if you push us anymore, we'll reveal everything.
But I will say, like, what we're doing with the next 10, it wraps up the first 10. Like the first 20 is going to feel like one awesome giant movie or miniseries, right? It's going to build to, if you thought this midpoint finale was big, it gets even bigger and more powerful.
It'll feel like there'll be a time jump between 20 and 21.
Yeah. And I was going to say, in the next 20 is going to feel like its own brand new movie with them, but it's a total continuation. It's like a lot of times we make this mistake. Like we don't call Prodigy our TV show, where a lot of time we call it our film, right? Because we feel like the first 20 episodes is one awesome movie. And then the second 20 is like a sequel, like a really great sequel that continues and wraps up everything. So
is it possible when you guys talk to whoever's going to author the Blu-ray or the 4K to do kind of like a zipped version where you can just zip straight through it episode for episode and, give everyone credit at the end, obviously. But that's kind of like the way I want to watch it. I want to watch this 3.5 hours version of this 10 episode chunk, like all in one sitting.
It's a good idea. That's really
I always
cool.
tell people to like spend a couple extra bucks and get the ad-free Paramount Plus, because it's like sometimes those ads will really put a damper on the viewing of the episodes. But yeah, it'd be great to stitch them together. But I want to make a correction. Kevin said everything ties up in the first 20. Everything doesn't tie up in the first 20.
No. I didn't say the first. I said the 40. The in essence, movie 1 and then movie 2. By the end of it all, we've really wrapped up the grand story.
We're always, I think, at the end of 10 or 20, we're always going to wrap up some of the big stuff, but then always open up some new questions or continuations of some things that haven't been fully tied with the bow on.
Well, naturally, or else how are we going to have that best of both worlds moment part 2? Like when the series comes back, when it comes back.
I mean, we've always mentioned that we're highly inspired by the Star Trek films, and I think you'll see that in our storytelling and our seasons should hopefully feel like an epic Star Trek film almost,
I think that's about it for our time, for the both of you, for Ashley, for us here on Star Trek Prodigy, for Roddenberry Entertainment. Is there anything else that you would like to leave the audience, or would you like to tell them how they can follow you on social media so they can get all the new information that comes out for Star Trek Prodigy? Because I'm sure that you're going to stay in the conversation for a long time to come here.
Anything for you, Kevin?
Anything? Any last words? I'm so grateful for everyone enjoying the show. Please know that we're doing our best and we're pouring our hearts into these things and in these characters. And I'm just so happy that you guys love these characters as much as we do,
And Dan, where can your fans, both of your fans, find you on social media so they can follow all your details as you reveal them throughout the course of the next couple months?
I had to look it up because, as I said, I was bad with titles. Our Twitter handle is @Brothers Hageman. Brothers Hageman, @Brothers Hageman. And Kevin and I share a Twitter handle.
Because Twitter has character limits.
Yeah.
And Ashley, for all of our listeners out there who follow you across social media, where can they find you and all of the wisdom that you have for all of them?
I don't know if wisdom's the right word, but you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Ashley V. Robinson. The V is very important. Ashley Robinson is a WNBA player that I don't want to fight for SEO. And you can find me at the Mission Log Prodigy Twitter, which is actually run by Norm, but I like to jump in there and offer my opinions as well because I am that type of person, at ML_Prodigy. Norm, where can everyone find you personally?
You can find me at Lounge Lizard. That's LAONGE Lizard. That's on Twitter and on Instagram. And with that, we say we wrap up the show, Ashley.
Okay, friends, we've reached the end of our show. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, the Brothers Hageman, for joining us here today, especially on Mission Log Prodigy. If you enjoyed the show, please make sure that you smash the like and share and subscribe button, smash all the buttons on all the platforms, do our Mission Log Prodigy playlist on the Roddenberry Entertainment YouTube channel, find our podcasts on your podcatcher of choice. Mission Log Prodigy is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment Production, and technical direction by the perfect and talented Earl Green. Our website and your opportunity to comment and connect with us is missionlogpodcast.com. And if you would like to support Mission Log directly, and why wouldn't you, you can do so at patreon.com/missionlog.
So thank you everyone for taking the time to be with us, even though we'll be on a much longer break between now and sometime later on this year in 2022. Rest assured that Ashley and I are hard at work to bring you some more fantastic content between now and then. So thank you for your support, and make sure again to like, share, and subscribe so that you know when all the new content is available for you on Roddenberry Entertainment.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.